VikesNow, I am Dustin Baker. We are 13 days away from the NFL draft. It's going to feel like Christmas. I'm going to say that at every introduction to the show because I mean it. The Vikings have this ultra pivotal draft. It's this fulcrum of Vikings history. And so what we're doing today, a first of its kind segment, I'm talking to three folks from Vikings Twitter. I said, who wants to come on this show once in a while? I get lonely on here. Well, we got three guys. They're going to give us their biographies foremost, and then we're going to launch into what these guys would do if they were the general manager. And then realistically, in the last half of the show, I want their predictions. I want to know what they think is going to happen. So I'm going to start here with Alex. I believe he said he's from Arizona. Alex, tell me about yourself. Tell me how you became a Viking fan.
Well, I'm probably a little older than you guys. I'm 64 years old. I became a Vikings fan in 1968 when we moved to Arizona.
Oh, wow.
We didn't have any teams here other than the Phoenix Suns basketball team. So, I like the horns on the Vikings. That's what attracted me to the team. And I've been a fan ever since, and I think throughout the years, to being a fan for so long, you kind of get accustomed to and the feel for every manager, every general manager, every owner that comes in, you get a feel for what they're going to do. You get a feel for what they're going to do. And that's how I became a fan, and Skull,
Oh, hell yeah. All right. Well, no, I agree with you on the horns thing. That was one of the things that when I picked my team in 1996, I really thought they were cool. And whenever I see any of those helmet rankings, I would be so biased. I would be so biased if I had to rank them because I just think they're so majestic. I would love for them to do something funky and do like the white helmets, but never change the actual horns. All right, Mark, same question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, no, you're good. No, I wouldn't change the horns ever.
No. The Norseman is cool, but it's all about the horns. All right, Mark, you are up, sir. Tell me about yourself. Tell me how your fandom began and when.
Yeah, so I've been a Vikings fan my whole life. I'm from Medora, North Dakota, but my dad was from Rochester, Minnesota. So he kind of brought the Viking thing over. So I remember I've watched every game, since that 98 season, which is great and kind of terrible at the same time because there's been a lot of heartbreak in there. But yeah, I'm living it outside Medora. I actually am a football coach from Beach, North Dakota. And I got to show you guys, I'm such a fan. I got engaged outside US Stadium with the wife. You can't there's Vikings fans cheering in the background. So that was really cool.
Yeah, but, that can't be topped.
No, it was phenomenal. We had our trick good, and actually, if you guys know who Kat Perkins is, she actually gave us the tickets to do that. She's kind of a Minneapolis rock star that was on The Voice. So I love the Vikings, love everything about it. Really excited to be here. Can't wait. So that's kind of my story.
Wow, I love it. All right, we're gonna get into draft predictions here in a little bit. Travis, you are up. Your biography and how did you begin as a Vikings fan?
Yeah, so I am here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. A lot of people around here are like, oh, you became a Vikings fan because of Adrian Peterson, right? No, not so fast. I was born in St. Louis Park, Minnesota. Family's always been Vikings fans. I've got a brick probably in that picture, Mark, right outside the stadium with my family's name on it. So moved around a ton, ended up down here in Oklahoma, and since we've never won anything, there's really no such thing as like full-blown bandwagons. So it's like anytime I see another Vikings fan, I'm like, fellow sufferer, I'm with you. So yeah, I do radio covering the Oklahoma Sooners now, and yeah, so when I had the opportunity to come on with you guys and actually talk ball, but talk the Vikings side of things, I was very excited.
What do you do play-by-play or what do you do?
No, so it's a third-party affiliate. We do 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. All we talk about is Oklahoma sports.
Really?
So I'll actually here in a couple hours I'll be jumping on to talk recruiting. So we're on a few AM stations, FM stations here, and we've got an app that's got I think we do about 3 million listens a month. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. We just get to talk about OU football all day. It's great.
It must have been a wonderful marriage when they drafted Adrian. Did you live down there?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's because I'm not married. I don't have any kids. So those are like the obligatory best day of my life scenarios. Like the Adrian Peterson draft was the best day of my life. Like, cause I got to watch him up close and personal. I knew what he was about, how special he was. When he fell to us in the draft, I knew what we were getting, and I couldn't wait for the world to find out.
All right, excellent. All right, nice to meet all three of you. My really brief story for anybody that is new to the channel. Yep. He's got the cup to go with it. My brief story is my family. We had a pit stop in Houston, Texas, in the mid '90s when the Rockets were winning NBA championships, and the Oilers at that time sucked because Warren Moon had just gone to the Vikings, and we found out we were moving to Minneapolis. And that time in the housing market, it took forever to sell our house. So my stepdad was off working in Minneapolis, and my mom and I were down in Houston. And we found out we were moving to Minneapolis. The Oilers were horrible, like 2-14 horrible. And all of my friends thought it was cool that I was moving to Minneapolis because Warren Moon was the quarterback of the Vikings. Yeah. And so you couldn't like the Oilers. You couldn't wear Oilers clothes because, that wasn't cool. And so I was like, well, we're moving to Minneapolis. I might as well cheer for the Vikings. And they got Warren Moon, who everybody loves down here. And then I got up there in 97. Moss was drafted in 98. And I was totally hooked for the rest of days. And here we are doing a show about these very Vikings. All right, so now we're going to get into the draft. And the criteria here is recommendations. Alex, I'm going to start with you. For this segment, I do not care about your prediction. I want to know if you were in charge of the Vikings, what would be, I guess, your first round recommendation, a trade or not? What would you do if you were in charge?
Well, if I was in charge, I think, me personally, I think the Vikings a little bit in that way, I don't think I would, me personally, I would not give up 3 first-round picks, okay? Mm-hmm. I would keep the picks. If I couldn't get either Daniels or May up at 2 or maybe 4, I wouldn't do it because I really feel like McCarthy or Penix could probably be at 11 or even 23. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I would keep the picks. Me personally, if I couldn't get one of those 2 quarterbacks, and I would just keep the picks and pick at 11. And me personally, I would go edge or defensive lineman on there over Verse or Murphy.
Okay. Does that mean you have a fail safe at 23 where you'd pick Penix or Nix, or you just roll with Arnold?
Yes, because I really feel like depending on the needs of these other teams and who's going to trade up with you, you know what I mean? Is it going to be Arizona or is it going to be New England? You know what I mean? So, but I feel at pick 23, I mean, you can probably get Daniels, McCarthy, or Penix, depending on who's taking who around there, But I wouldn't get too carried away with the three, especially your next year's first round pick. I wouldn't do it. You know what I mean? There's I don't know. That's just me. I just get the feel, because of and I don't think Quessy is going to do that either unless he gets the guy that he wants. I don't feel that they're going to give up 3 first-round picks like that.
Okay, so you basically have some semblance of best player available defensively at number 11. Whether that is Jared Verse, I don't think Dallas Turner will fall that far. I would love him there if they have some other grand plan at quarterback. And then at 23, you hope for the best with the remainder of Penix, Nix.
Because even at 23, if they decide not to go quarterback and they want to even wait till next year, I mean, you got Kool-Aid McKinstry down at in that area, you know what I mean, for defense, you know what I mean? I really think that right now they're 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 okay with Darnold. I think Darnold, he just got put in the wrong situations, you know what I mean, for a lot of times. And if give him either way, I think they got to give him a year. They're not going to get a quarterback to come in and and fix the quarterback situation this year. You know what I mean? It's not going to happen. But if they feel, that's why I feel like they can actually feel like they can wait for another quarterback, seeing what happens and what falls to them in the, because I don't think they're going to give up 3 first-round picks. They're not going to, so.
Okay. So yeah, you got no, that's all right. We got Kwesi, the analytics and value-based general manager. I have a feeling we're going to have an array of recommendations here. Mark, let's go to you. We got Alex that says defense all day, every day, which we don't dislike on this show. But what do you got for a recommendation, Mark, in North Dakota?
So I got 2 separate things, because the first one ain't going to happen. But when we got trade to 4 with 2 first-round picks, I was on, let's get Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah.
Let's get Harrison,
Wow,
Jefferson,
yeah.
Hopkins, Jones. Any quarterback can throw to one of those guys, right? Anybody. Okay, we could bring back Todd Bauman, and he could do that. So that was my original thought, but I think it'll cost 3 first-round picks to move up that high, and I don't think we'll do that because Kwesi, I think, is really, really smart, and he knows GMs get fired for doing things like that if that guy doesn't turn out, right? And not only that, I don't think – even if it was J.J. McCarthy, 3 first-round picks for the 4th best quarterback and not even the 4th best player in the draft, that sounds like bad news. So to me, I'm a big fan of trading back, and especially if you look at Vikings history, everyone we draft in the top 12 hasn't really turned out that great anyways. But look at our record of drafting dudes in the 20s. It's phenomenal. Jefferson and Darrisaw that we have right now, and then Xavier Rhodes, Harrison Smith is actually like 31 or 32, but there's a lot of guys there. So 2 years ago, when we traded from 12 back in that Lions trade, I think that set a good precedent. So in my world, we trade back there. Okay, we get Cooper DeJean with that 23 pick, right? 32, there's a bunch of different ways you can go. But let's say we get one of those D tackles, okay? Now we got 2 second-round picks as well. We could still make a splash. What about Xavier Worthy? Let's put him with those receivers, right? And then we can bring in another guard there, say in the 2nd round. And then with our 3rd-round pick, we get Rattler. I'm big on the Rattler deal because I think he's motivated, and Travis will probably know a lot about Rattler. Maybe he can give us some insight. I think he's very motivated. I think he's got something to prove. He was a top-rated prospect. He just had some bad years. But not only that, if we take Rattler, because Darnold's our guy week 1 anyways, I think we got to be prepared for that he's playing. I think it's great. He's motivated. He's never had anything. He was with like the 2 most dysfunctional NFL teams to start his career, right? So how can anyone succeed there? Bring in Rattler, learn behind Darnold. Either maybe Darnold's great and he has a Baker Mayfield year, or Rattler turns into something great. And if he doesn't, Kwesi's not getting fired. We still keep our 1st-round pick for next year. So if we're bad, now next year we're drafting, say, 5, 6, 7. There's 6 teams that are going to take a quarterback this year early that won't be in the market next year. I think that makes it easier to go up and possibly get a quarterback, like, say, Quinn Ewers or someone like that next year. So that's kind of my scenario. I think we plug a lot of holes. I think it would work out really good. People get to keep their jobs. And if it doesn't work out, we're good next year. We have a high 1st-round pick, even though we don't have our 2. But that's what I think I would love to see the Vikings do.
Okay, so we actually surprised me. We have two gentlemen that want to build out the roster and roll with Darnold in the sense that he'll probably have a Baker Mayfield tale of his own. He was the 3rd overall pick 6 years ago. So see what we have left with the quarterback whisperer coaching staff, Josh McCown and Kevin O'Connell. Travis, Travis in Oklahoma? Tell me, are you on this train that says, as a recommendation, nope, we're not trading up, we're going to see how the board falls? Or are you in, let's trade up and get the guy?
Yeah, I couldn't be. I'm not even on the train that my cohorts are here. I'm actually on the tracks going the exact opposite direction. I think that Vikings fans for far too long have been more, concerned about being good than being great. maybe not the Vikings fans, but just Vikings fans have seen a team led by people who are too afraid to take the big swing, right? Make the big trade, move up, go get the guy. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at least you tried, right? Like, at least you gave yourself a chance. And I think, first of all, I don't know if it's because the Vikings have horns and the Longhorns have horns, that there's some type of subconscious thing going on with Murphy from Texas, Xavier Worthy from Texas, wanting to wait to draft Quinn Ewers from Texas next year. Let me tell you, keep Quinn as far away from our football team as
Spoken like a
you
true
can.
Sooner.
Yeah, Quinn was the generational prospect that was mocked into the first round for this draft. He was supposed to be the 4th pick, the 7th pick, and the 21st pick by 3 different entities, and 4th best Heisman odds, and he has not lived up to any of the expectations. So keep Quinn Ewers away from my football team. But it's with next year, if you wait to draft a quarterback next year, like, that class is not a very good class. Like, if you had to trade up in this class, like, I would say any of the, call it the top 4, right? Call it Williams, May, Daniels, and McCarthy. I would argue all of them are at minimum top 2 picks in next year's draft. So, like, that's when it's like, okay, if we're going to trade up for a guy that's a 4th best quarterback, I mean, that's fine with me, because if you trade next year's first, then you can replace that with a free agent, because you're now on a rookie contract. You've got all this cap space now. Like, my biggest, like, probably my hottest take about the NFL and roster building is that a rookie QB deal should be the goal all the time, because it's the biggest cheat code in roster building. I mean, that's why it was like Kirk. I love Kirk, but I don't like Kirk's contract. Like, people were saying, hey, what if we could trade with the Chargers for Herbert, get a young quarterback? No, I don't want Herbert's contract. Like, if you look at the Super Bowl appearances, since they changed the rookie QB contract, right? Sam Bradford was the last big rookie QB contract, right? He played OU at 09, and then his first NFL season was in 2010. You look at it, it's Rodgers, when he made the Super Bowl, was getting paid $10 million a year, right? Because he had to sit behind Favre. He didn't really get, broke off financially until that 3rd contract. Look at Joe Burrow, made it as a rookie. Mahomes made it as a rookie twice. Russell Wilson made it and when I say a rookie, I mean rookie deal. Mm-hmm. Russell Wilson made it with 2 rookie deals. Cam Newton made it on a rookie deal. Brock Purdy made it on a rookie deal. Nick Foles and Carson Wentz made it while making peanuts. Like, Jared Goff made it to the Super Bowl on a rookie deal. Like, when you count up the 11 quarterbacks that have made the Super Bowl on a rookie deal, it equals the same number of times somebody named Manning or Brady has made it to the Super Bowl in that same time. So your options, basically, if we just look at over the last a little over a decade, you can have a rookie QB deal and make the postseason, because you can do exactly what Houston's doing right now. Houston just paid. They got Mixon, Diggs, Danielle Hunter, all these dudes, because they're like, hey, we have something in a rookie quarterback. We can build a super team around them. Look at what the Niners keep doing. They put whoever back there, and they're able to go pay Christian McCaffrey and then not give him the ball in the 4th quarter and lose. But they're able to do those things. Look at Philly. How about Jalen Hurts making it to a Super Bowl when he was a 2nd-round pick? Like, and I get that might lend itself to saying, hey, look, maybe that means we take Rattler. I like Rattler. He's got a lot of arm talent. I'm not sure I want him as my franchise guy. But, like, I think you at least take a swing. And if things go well, we have what a situation for a rookie quarterback to come into. I mean, you've got 2 good bookend tackles. You've got weapons galore. You've got Hawkinson, Addison, and JJ. Who doesn't want that? And you're letting Flores retool his defense and get his guys that he wants, and you're about to have a bunch of cap space open up. Like, it's the perfect situation for a rookie quarterback to succeed. And in so many situations, like Darnold, they go into a situation that's horrible, and they're not able to dig themselves out of it because they have no help. Look at what Bryce Young walked into last year. It was horrible. So I think this is the time, if you trade that 2025 first-round pick, I think you end up, if things go well, that 2025 first-round pick might be the number 20 pick, might be the number 25 pick. You know what I mean? Like, 25, I know, is a bit aggressive, but even if it goes well, like, you're not losing a top 5 pick next year. Like that's the whole goal, because I think the roster is good enough that the right quarterback can step in and do good things. I mean, I like Aaron Jones a lot. Like I said, I like the offensive line. We need to shore up the interior of the defense, maybe get a corner, but I don't know. I feel good about the team, and I just don't want this rookie QB window to close. And guess what? We draft the wrong guy. At least we can say we tried.
All right, so we have one recommendation for a trade up the. Oh, actually, Travis, real quick, would that be for May or McCarthy? Or
those would be my guys, right?
Okay.
So if you look at obviously who's in the draft ahead of us and who they have on their roster now, obviously I see the Bears taking Caleb Williams, worst kept secret in the world right now. Washington, I think Washington and New England, I think go May, Daniels, May, something like that. If we need to trade up to 3, I guess that's where we would take probably May. I think Washington probably takes Daniels. Okay. But then Arizona's got a quarterback. The Chargers have a quarterback. The Giants looked like they might be in the McCarthy sweepstakes, but you look at them and you just brought in Drew Lock to back up Daniel Jones, who you're paying a fortune. You're not going to then spend the draft capital again to try and take a quarterback there. Atlanta, obviously, we know who's quarterbacking them now. Tennessee's got Will Levis. Like, the Jets have Aaron Rodgers. Like, you basically, with Denver below us, need to just do enough to box out Denver from taking their guy. And Denver sold the farm with the Russell Wilson deal. So they're in cap hell and asset hell. So you can beat whatever deal Denver wants to put together for somebody. And say you want to trade up to 5, like, the Chargers aren't going to deal within division. So you could trade up there and actually probably put together a little bit less of a deal than what Denver can, because Harbaugh is not going to trade away, within division with his first move as the Chargers man. So that's what I see. I like McCarthy. I like May a lot. I think both of them are gone by pick 11, though, because I think Denver will do what they can to get above us to get whoever falls between those two. I think 4 quarterbacks are gone by the time we get to 11.
Okay. All right. For this next and final segment, I'm going to have you guys wipe the memory clean of your recommendations. And Alex, you are up to tell me if you were let's say you were going to gamble on this, you're going to put your reputation on the line. What do you expect Kwesi to do on draft night 13 days from now?
Okay, I put a little round 7 thing. I'm going to make my picks. I'm going to say they're going to take Murphy at 1. I'm going to say at pick 23, Penix is going to fall into their hands, because I believe McCarthy and May and them are going to be gone. I don't believe I really believe that Jefferson, I believe he wants Daniels. I think he's been talking too much about chemistry with Jamar Chase and Burrow over there in Cincinnati and all this and all that. So I'm going to say Penix falls to him at 23. Round 4, 108, and this is all pending barring if they don't move up to get a quarterback. Round 4, I got him taking Matt Goncalves. He's a tackle. And then round 4, pick number 129, I got him taking Cooper BB. Round 5, I got Zach Zinter or Xavier Thomas. Drake Nugent at 167. Nehemiah Pritchett, cornerback, 177. Trey Taylor, safety at 230. And CJ Hansen, a guard at 232.
All right.
But really I'm focused on what they're going to do at 11 and 23. If they're going to trade them away, or
Yeah.
So it just depends on what they're going to do. If they're going to move up or not. For me, really. But
all right. With Alex's scenario, then we'd have the Penix era beginning at number 23, and
yes.
Yep, and I think he'll be 24 in May, so we'll have to figure out if he's ready to start over Darnold. Probably not. It seems like Darnold at 10 mil will probably be the guy. All right, so
he's going to be fine.
Yeah. All right, that is the first prediction. Mark, we are back to you. I want you to take all of your recommendations, throw them in the garbage, and tell me if you were going to gamble on this thing, what would you predict for the Vikings draft?
Yeah, I think they're going to stick and pick. I do. And you never know with these guys because you can't lead on what you're doing. But just listening to Queasy and O'Connell the last couple days, it sounds like they're kind of preparing us to not make that big trade up, like I know a lot of Vikings fans want. And I'm not totally against that either. The only thing I agree with Travis when he said the rookie contract deal. It scares me if we take Drake May and you sit him for the full year because then in my mind, we lose a year that great deal. I know we got 3 more until the 5th year option, but if we ever take a quarterback in the first round, I want him to be a day 1 starter, so we don't got to listen in week 4 when's he starting. I think that's a big distraction, but I think they're going to stick and pick. I think they're subliminally kind of preparing us for that. So if that's the case, I think we're sticking and picking with the best defender at 11, whether that's Lechu or the guy from Alabama. I think that's what we'll do there. And then at 23, I think they start to feel the pressure and they take Penix.
Okay.
I don't necessarily want that solely just because he's a lefty. And I think taking a lefty devalues Darisaw a little bit and puts more pressure on O'Neal. And I love O'Neal, and I think he's still good. But, with the injuries and stuff, and he's getting a little older, that spooks me a little bit. So I think that's what they're going to do. And I have full faith in Queasy and O'Connell. I think they're really good and really smart. I know they're smarter than me anyways. So I think that's what will happen. It's not really what I'm hoping for, but we got to have faith that they know what they're doing better than, I do sitting here in my living room. But that's what I think will happen is best defense and then Penix.
Do you, so we have back-to-backs Penix predictions. Do you think, Mark, that Penix would start week 1 against the blah, blah, blahs?
I don't think so, just because, again, after listening to these guys talk, how much there is in the Kevin O'Connell offense. I think there's so much that you need to learn, and I get it. He was telling Dobbs what to do at the 16-second mark and all that, but that's not ideal, right? So I don't think he would start week 1 because I really do think that they like Darnold. And I just believe that's smart. Let the guy come in, at least get through week 1. But I don't know. I just think we got something with Darnold. But again, it's also different with Penix because rolling left versus rolling right. If you're a lefty, you want to design things to the left as much as you can, right? You don't want to roll them right a lot. I won't pretend to be an expert on if Penix can roll right very well. But I just think the lefty thing changes a lot, at least in North Dakota football. I know it does. And I think on the NFL level, it does too. So that's what I would have to say.
Yeah, I think on Wednesday's show, Josh Fry and we were talking about we aren't diametrically opposed, like I don't think you are, to a left-handed quarterback, as a guy or a philosophy, but it just inspires an eye roll that we finally got the left tackle figured out. And it's like, oh, now we're going into an era with a left-handed quarterback. Of course we would do that. So, all right, we got 2 Penix theories here. And I think when you said we'd be calling for the rookie quarterback, no matter who it is, and game number 4, no, it's going to be the first 3 and out that people are going to say, oh, no, I've seen enough of Darnold. And they would have done the same thing with Kirk. So if you do have, even if you have, Drake May, if he has to sit and watch, or any of them, I can verifiably tell you that the Darnold experiment will grow very tiresome with the first incomplete pass. They're like, no. So for my sanity, I'm glad it's not Kirk, because that would be so predictable that folks wouldn't want to have the patience, because they never did with Kirk in general. But yeah, I have to see who the quarterback is before I figure out if it's going to be. I'm leaning towards Darnold in week 1, but I also think there's a way that Drake May, blows our socks off during the summer, which I can't remember which one of you. I think that was you, Mark. I too. I would have just kept Nick Mullins if you need a bridge, and then start Drake May, because Nick Mullins, in my opinion, got a really bad rap because defense died the moment he took over against the Bengals. I have no good explanation for it. And bridge quarterbacks for me just get on my nerves. It's like, let's take our lumps. Let's go 5-12 or whatever. We'll get the 6th pick. And let's do the thing. Let's get him learning now. But I don't know if my theory is going to be right there. All right, Travis, I want you to get rid. I'm going to guess that your 2 might merge here, but get rid of your trade recommendation and tell me what you expect from Kwesi Adolpho-Mensah on April 25th?
Well, I don't think, like, it's hard to ignore it. I don't think you make that trade to get a second first-round pick unless you plan on packaging them like that. Because, again, I think if you move up, again, your draft picks become, I mean, look at what the Rams did. Your draft picks, you keep kicking that can down the road because now all of a sudden you can afford all these free agents because we're about to have insane amounts of cap space. But, like, what I think is going to happen, unfortunately, is I think that Michael Penix is QB3 on Minnesota's board. I think he's above Daniels. I think he's a better scheme fit than Daniels. I think Penix actually fits quite nicely into KOC's team. So I think they go Penix at 11 because I don't think they trust him. Like, I don't want to risk Penix and risk getting Bo Nix. Like, I don't like Bo Nix at all. So, like, I don't want to risk that happening. I think if you get Penix, I mean, if you can get, like, college football playoff Michael Penix, the semifinal Michael Penix, you can win a Super Bowl with that guy. Like, I don't know how many of you guys watched him against Texas. I was obviously watching for some, pulling for Washington hard in that. But, I mean, he carved up, I mean, a Texas secondary that wasn't that great all year, but he carved them up. He was making throws on the run. What I liked about him was he's mobile enough, but mobile enough to make defenders miss in the pocket, but stay in the pocket and still keep his eyes downfield and deliver the ball. Like, that's what, like, a lot of people see that he's got some athleticism to him and going, oh, he might get hurt running, anything like that. Like, he really doesn't run that much. He uses his athleticism to evade pass rushers. I mean, Tavondre Sweat, Murphy, these kind of guys that are, NFL players. Murphy's going to be a first-round pick. They had 0 sacks on the guy. And it wasn't because their offensive line was just whooping Texas up front. It was because he could move around the pocket and make dudes miss, look like he had eyes in the back of his head. So pocket presence that comes with a lot of reps. Obviously, we've touched on his age. I think they take Penix at 11 because they don't want to risk him leaving. He's their wide receiver 3 on the board, I think. And I think they're happy with getting quarterback 3. I think they're happy with getting QB3 at 11. And then I think you go edge defender with the 23rd pick. Chop Robinson out of Penn State, probably the guy that would fall there. I don't think Verse is falling. Turner's obviously not falling. So I think that gets you one of the best edge rushers in the draft, and it gets you your quarterback of the future that's on a rookie deal. And I think you have a quarterback competition, and I think you take your lumps and you play him. He's 24 years old. He's played a lot of football. Like, he's not still just this project that's like, okay, you may be 21 years old, so we need you to emotionally mature and we need you to physically mature. Like, no, he's played at a high level. He's played at a couple schools. He's learned different offenses. And I think that with the weapons you currently have, you would waste a year if you, kind of like what Mark was saying earlier, you would waste a year if you went with Darnold and said, you know what, we need to hold Penix out so he can be ready. Like, if the guy's ready, the guy's ready. I mean, so that's what I think is going to happen. Again, later in the draft, you can pick up maybe if an interior defensive lineman's good, a guard, a corner, like your typical team needs, right? But like, I'm as far as wide receivers go, I know there was Xavier Worthy talk earlier, like, and we had discussions of, hey man, if you take we need a wide receiver 3. I think Powell is fine as a wide receiver 3. Really do. I mean, and really Hawkinson is kind of your third pass catcher. So I don't think using a lot of draft capital on a wide receiver is what they're going to do, especially in the age of 7-on-7. Like, if you look at the rise of 7-on-7 in youth football, wide receivers are ready to play more than ever. You can take later round wide receivers. Yeah, you may not get Justin Jefferson, but you're going to get a guy that's, that can play in the league with a wide receiver 3 or a pass catcher number 4 label.
One thing, since we went, it's always such a sweet exclamation point. One thing that resonated with me since we down the line here with our 3 guests predicted Penix to the Vikings is Ben Lieber, former Vikings linebacker, was on this show about 5-6 weeks ago. And he told Tyler Ireland and Josh Fry and myself that it's his belief that general managers will circle a guy who's been through some shit, like, and see if he has the oomph to get through that shit. And that means a lot in a scouting report, whereas we might be focused on, is his footwork good enough and all this. And I don't know that Lieber all out endorsed Penix to the Vikings, and I don't think he did, but he said that in the NFL on the whole, that general managers want a guy who's battle tested emotionally. And with the injuries and the transfers, I think he landed on Penix as probably going higher than we might expect. And couple that with his pro day and the 4.44 something speed. That's in defense of your guys' argument about Penix, because I would never have dreamed 1 hour ago I was going to hop on a show with 3 predictions of Penix. But here we are. All right, gentlemen, what we're going to do, I think I'll check with Tyler, producer Tyler, off air. We're going to go down the line and have more shows like this. But I'm hoping if you guys had a good time, you can make it a rotation so that we do this every blah, blah, blah weeks. And whether it's the exact same 3 of yous or we switch it up, because I learned a lot from you guys in terms of fan sentiment. But we will hit your line for another episode, and that won't take too long, because when we go through the off season or the spring and summer slog after the draft, you're kind of looking for stuff to chat about. So I want to thank all 3 of you. Your Twitter handles are right on, and then we shall get this episode out in the open. And I think that's all we got. We'll talk to all 3 of you soon. And the draft, my friends, is only 13 days away. Skol, baby.